Hi, folks. I'm Andrew Mishlove of Mishlove and Stuckert. We are Wisconsin's leading drunk driving defense law firm. I am a board certified specialist in DUI defense, certified by the American Bar Association accredited National College for DUI Defense, and I'm the former dean and president of that college. We are the experts in Wisconsin on this. And what are we going to talk about today? A case that we're not handling, a case that's not one of my cases, Tony Romo. Tony Romo, the football star, the broadcasting star, got arrested in Milwaukee County, my county, for drunk driving the other day on July 23rd, and we're going to talk about that. As far as I know, the information on it is kind of sparse right now. He was driving from West Bend, probably back to Burlington. We're not sure, but he was driving down Interstate 43, which is a highway about a half a mile from here that I drive virtually every day. And he got stopped by the Milwaukee County Sheriff for some reason. We're not quite sure. It was in the early evening. It was between 6 and 6:30 in the evening, still daylight, not the middle of the night. He apparently was coming from the Wisconsin Amateur Championship golf tournament at the West Bend Country Club, where he shot a 315.35 over par for the whole tournament, which sounds bad, except he had rounds of 80 and 82, which is pretty good in my world. Anyway, we don't know why he was stopped. Was it for speeding or swerving? We don't know. But apparently, the Milwaukee County Sheriff who stopped him thought, Tony, I think you might have been drinking. And in order to get somebody out of their car to investigate a suspected drunk driving, the police are required to have what's called reasonable suspicion. Police aren't just allowed to roust an American or anybody just because they feel like it. They have to have enough evidence to do so. We are presumed to be free to go about our business unless there's a reasonable suspicion to investigate us for something. We don't know why, if Tony Romo was stopped for just a speeding ticket or something, the police thought, oh, this guy might be drunk and we need to investigate. Typically, it's bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, odor of alcohol, bad balance, can't identify himself, that kind of stuff. We don't know why. I think we're going to find out because the Milwaukee County Sheriff usually has body camera video and almost always has squad car video. So we're going to do our best to get a hold of that stuff, and sooner or later we will, and we're going to show it to you. Now, the police gave Tony some field tests. They're called standardized field sobriety tests. I'm going to talk about that for a minute right now, and said that he quote unquote performed poorly. I don't know whether that's true or not. I've watched thousands of these videos. I've read thousands of police reports, and oftentimes the videos don't match what's in the reports. Moreover, these field sobriety tests aren't just exercises the police make up. It's a standardized system. It's standardized nationally. There's specific clues they're supposed to look for, specific ways that those clues are shown, and specific scoring systems and specific ways they're supposed to administer the test, instruct the test, and so on. And oftentimes I see the police screw that up. Sad but true, but they often do. Chances are Tony Romo was given an eye test called the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. That's where the police move their finger or a pen around in front of somebody's face. They often don't do that correctly. He was probably given a walking the line test. It's called a walk and turn test officially. Walk down a line. There's 8 clues on that they're supposed to look for, and a standing on one leg test. We don't know whether or not he really performed poorly. We know that the police said he did. They arrested him. We know they asked him to give some kind of sample officially. They might have asked him to give a unofficial preliminary sample out on the roadside. That, for the most part, can't be used as evidence against you. They might have done that, and that might come out too, as to if he blew something on the roadside in their little handheld toys that they use, that number might come out. And then they asked him to give an official sample. I don't know whether it was breath or blood. We'll find that out. And he apparently refused because he's charged with refusing to submit to an official request for a sample, which is a separate offense. We're going to talk about what these offenses are today, too. I don't know what happened after that. Oftentimes, when people refuse to give the sample the police want, they get a warrant. They can get them really quickly nowadays with technology. Get a judge on the phone. They get a warrant over a fax machine that's right in their squad car, or an email, something like that. And they take people and they get their blood anyway. So in most cases, when people refuse to give blood, they get the blood and they get charged with refusal. All right. So That's what Tony Romo went through. Now let's talk about it a little bit. This was in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the only state in the United States, I think might be the only jurisdiction on earth where a first offense drunk driving or any drunk driving isn't a criminal offense. In Wisconsin, a first offense drunk driving is just a traffic ticket, unless somebody's hurt or maybe there's children in the car or something like that. It's a serious traffic ticket. It's the worst traffic ticket you can get in Wisconsin, but it doesn't carry any jail time. It doesn't have a criminal case number. You don't get a criminal record from it. So that's the good news for Tony Romo. He's not facing the prospect of being labeled a criminal. He's not facing jail time. None of that. That's the good news. The bad news for Tony Romo is that, unlike most other states, Wisconsin has no first offenders programs, no diversion programs, no way that he's going to talk his way out of this by saying, I'm a good guy, give me a break. We don't do that here in Wisconsin. People who are charged with drunk driving in Wisconsin get prosecuted for drunk driving. And there are exceptions to this, but the general rule is you're going to get prosecuted for drunk driving. They're not going to reduce the charge unless they think they might lose it. We get that all the time. But we don't know what the evidence at this point is against Tony Romo. He's also charged with refusal to submit to tests. And that actually carries a more severe driver's license penalty for a Wisconsin driver. But that also that one's negotiable. And typically, if people plead guilty to a drunk driving charge, the prosecutors in Wisconsin will dismiss the refusal charge. That's typical, it's not guaranteed, and that may or may not be in Tony Romo's best interest. So what do we know? Do we know whether or not the police actually had a legitimate reason to stop Tony Romo? No, we don't know that. I can tell you that a little over a year ago, I had a client who was stopped for swerving right on that same stretch of freeway that Tony Romo was stopped on. And when we got the videos, the only reason his car was moving was because there was a truck next to him that was crowding his lane. And I got that case thrown out. Will that be what Tony Romo has a chance at? We don't know. I know he has good, competent lawyers. Hopefully they'll look and see that kind of thing. We don't know how they did on the field sobriety test. Did he really perform poorly, or are the police reports exaggerated, or did the police just screw up the way they administered those tests? We don't know. Did he really refuse to give a sample, or did he say something like, I don't know what to do? Was it a refusal or something else? We don't know. Did they get a warrant and take his blood? We don't know. If they took his blood, was the blood properly drawn so that it wasn't contaminated? Was it properly stored and refrigerated and transported to the laboratory? We don't know, but I can tell you in most cases I see problems with that. And when it gets to the laboratory, what's going to happen there? Well, I can tell you just this year, after almost 20 years of using a system called GCFID, gas chromatography with flame ionization detection, to test blood, Wisconsin has switched over to a much fancier system called GCFID/MS. They've added mass spectrometry to the mix. It's not twice as complicated, it's exponentially more complicated. When they did this new system, installed it, vetted it, there's a whole process you have to go through in chemistry, analytic chemistry, when you switch testing methods. It's called method validation. It's complicated, it's time consuming, it's expensive. Did they do that right? We don't know. At my law firm, we are auditing the method validation on that new system right now. I don't know that any other law firm in the state is doing it. I know that Tony Romo has good lawyers. We hope they're looking into that. And there are always lab problems that can occur. I teach a class on that to lawyers at the University of Texas Arlington, sponsored by the National College for DUI Defense. And hopefully, Tony Romo's lawyers will know to look at that, and I'm sure they do. We're going to look at it too, and we're going to talk about it here on this channel because this is interesting. When a guy like Tony Romo, who's a decent guy, was a great football player from the great state of Wisconsin, a great broadcaster, gets in trouble, hey, as far as I'm concerned, he should get the benefit of the doubt, but we're going to look at everything here. So stay tuned on this channel. And the next time we talk, I'm going to have my partner, Lauren Stuckert, who's smarter than I am, younger than I am, hasn't been around as much as me. And we're going to talk together about what's going on with Tony Romo. And we're going to do everything we can to get a hold of the videos and the police reports and the lab records and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to talk about Tony Romo here. So stay tuned. Andrew Mishlove from Mishlove and Stuckert, checking out.